Hey everyone, I wanted to do a little bit of a demo on additional annotation on your site plans. So if I understand your assignment correctly, I'm just going to go over here to your Miro board. Sarah wanted you to mark your path on a key plan, showing the trajectory of where you went through the site and also marking the sections on the site, as well as marking your transverse or longitudinal section on the site plan as well. So I thought I would just kind of show you how you might mark those on your plan. And it's really easy. So I'm going to first drag this north arrow down into my annotation, and then I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm just going to call it path. I'm going to lock all of these other layers so that I don't accidentally attach my path to those layers. And now I'm going to use the pen tool. So I just press P for pen. That's going to bring up this pen tool. And just as an aside, in case you've never used this tool before, this is a tool where you connect a series of points. And you can connect points like this, which are very straight segments in between each point. But if you drag on this, it creates a handle, and this handle creates a curve. So if you need to draw a line that has curves on it, clicking and dragging the handle can be a good way to do that. Now, it gets a little bit tricky when you want to be super precise with the way that you're going. So you might want to practice using the pen tool just off to the side before you do this exercise. But if you want to end this path, you can just control and then click off of the path, and that will end it wherever it is. And now you see you're left with this line, and it's just going to take on whatever characteristics are assigned in your palette down here. So if you don't want it to have a fill, which usually we don't want our paths to have fills, you would just make that a none. And then on your path itself, you can choose a color. You can use the stroke palette to change the thickness and also to make it into a dashed line, for example, if you wanted to, by assigning different dashes and gaps. You can also give it arrows. So you can give it a beginning arrow and an end arrow like that. I guess I have to select the path in order to do that. So let me do that again. Stroke, arrow number 1, arrow number 2. You can't see this unless you zoom in very closely. So the size of the arrow is related to the size of the stroke. If I change that to 10, you see the size of my arrows increases along with the stroke of the path. If I go back to stroke and I change this to a dashed line, maybe I want to give it a dash of 48 with a gap of 24. Then I have a dashed line like this with arrowheads, and I can also change the arrows. There's lots of different choices. You can choose an open arrow like this. You can even increase the size of the arrow independently. If you wanted it to be double the size, you might make this 200%, and then you see that the size of the arrow changes. So you can do a lot in Illustrator with this type of line. Now I'm going to go back to my site plan, and I'm going to go back to the pen tool using P for pen. And I'm going to imagine myself walking through this site. You guys have actually walked through your sites, but it's been a long time for me since I was at Riley Park. I'm just going to imagine a path for myself and try to draw it. So the last time I went to the market, I actually rode my bike, and I rode my bike starting on East 30th because I used to live on East 29th, just on the other side of Main Street. So I would have come across the site like this, and I'm just going to zoom in. And probably what I did was cut across the road and pull up here. So I'm just going to drag my handle as if I was turning the corner here. And you see it's giving it a fill because we have a fill of white here. So I'm just going to change that to none, and then that way it's going to get rid of my fill. I would have come in to the garden, probably would have walked through the community garden first. I don't know exactly where the path is, but I probably went here. And then I would have come in over here because I think the entrance to the market on Saturdays is around this point. And then it's likely that I spent some time over here on the deck underneath the tree with my dog, probably waiting for my husband to finish shopping for cinnamon buns. And then usually we took a little walk around the park, kind of like this. So you see I'm just using my pen tool to draw my path along the site. I'm kind of sticking with the path that I would really take. And at a certain point, let's say I diverged from the path around the ellipse, and I decided I was going to walk over here. And let's say I'm going to walk towards it's Luke's site, I think, that's down here. So I'm keeping on walking on the path. And here I am in the site. I probably, if I was visiting this, would have spent a little bit of time exploring the site, going around, maybe taking some photos. I probably didn't walk through that house. If you need to undo a point, you can just use Control Z to undo it. And then maybe I come back up out on this path up here and exit the site. And I keep going up here and I follow this sidewalk and end it on this line here. All right, so that's my path. That's my path of moving through the whole site. And I can change the color if I want to emphasize this, or I can just make it a lot thicker. Maybe I want it to be like an 18-point line. And then in that case, I think I would probably double the dashes again. So maybe I'd make this 96 and 48. And now my dash line is a lot bigger and more legible. And if I want to give this a direction, I would give the arrow to my end point only. So I will go to stroke and then I'll select an arrow like this. And you can see now it starts here. Maybe we give that one a starting point of this circle. And I'm going to reduce this to 50% because I don't want it to be that large. And now you see we have kind of a starting point, and then we can see the path of direction follows this and ends up at this arrow point here.